From the News Channel 5 Network, this is OpenLine.
Hello everyone, welcome to OpenLine. I am Ben Hall. Tonight we are talking about Nashville's street newspaper. It's likely you've seen people selling the Contributor all around town, and the Contributor's been in the news lately. So we want to talk to the executive director, kind of get an understanding, a better understanding of what the Contributor is, how it operates. Happy to have with us Brady Banks, the executive director. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
So you have been in the news. The councilman is wanting to restrict some of the way the newspaper is sold, and we'll talk about that in a minute. I want to give people a chance to call in with any question they may have, but as far as just kind of an overview, educate us. How does this work, the Contributor?
Well, what we do is every Monday morning we open up the church doors at Downtown Presbyterian Church, and we have about a third of our vendors who come out through the week come on that Monday morning paper release. And we let folks know what is in our paper. We put together a paper the previous week, and we let them know what's out there, how to sell it, what is good in the news in the newspaper, and then, of course, make any announcements that we have to make to our vendor force. And they go and purchase their papers, and they purchase those papers for 75 cents, and then sell them on the street for $2.
So they purchase them for 75 cents and sell. So every paper they sell is $1.25 in their pocket.
Right. So the net profit should always be on any sale $1.25. Now what we know is that not many people walk around with $2 bills anymore, and most people either go $1, $2, or they'll give a $5 bill. So we know that many of our vendors receive tips per unit sold. So the amount of income varies depending on the actual sale, but we do know that they report tips and that they certainly earn quite a good living.
The vendors are homeless and formerly homeless, right?
That's correct.
How do you identify that? How do you verify if that's the right word there? But how do you know they're homeless or formerly homeless?
Sure. So what we do is we have an extensive training program that we put each person who comes through our doors in, and they are walked through a contract that we ask folks to sign. And that contract outlines laws, behavior, things that they are supposed to observe when they are selling the paper. They also are taught about different sales techniques. They are given 15 papers for free, and we see that as an investment in their micro business. And then once they go out in the street and begin selling on a temporary badge, because we have 3 levels of badges, so the first level is temporary badge. Temporary badge, they go out there, they sell for a period, and if they make it through that period, which is a 4-week period, they will do what we call graduation. So once they graduate, they go through the kind of finalizing process of getting a permanent badge, and that's the point when they become a full-fledged active vendor of the Contributor. And everybody that comes through that process we interview too. So we know their personal circumstances, their personal experiences with homelessness, with anything that goes along with poverty, any experiences that have lent themselves to where they find themselves as homeless. And then, of course, we say, well, we're glad you're here, and we hope we can help you out, and we look forward to you being a vendor that becomes successful here.
In that process, have you ever turned someone down because they were not in fact homeless? I mean, I would think with the unemployment situation as it has been,
right,
are there people that come to you and you say, no, you don't qualify?
Right. Not necessarily. What we do is we honor people who have experienced homelessness. So if they are in homelessness, there's varying degrees. As many people throughout the community recognize that there are people who are couch surfing, people who are living on the streets, which is kind of our traditional understanding of homelessness, people who are living with others in different places that may not be what we'd call suitable for most people to live in. So there's a varying degree of people that come through our doors. So to define homelessness sometimes is a little bit difficult. So what we say is, if you've experienced homelessness in any kind of way, and you come through our doors, we want you to be our vendor, and we want to help you earn an income and jump back into the economic community here in Nashville And that's the way we view each person that comes through. So if they come in, they say, well, I work at Bank of America, and I'm doing great as a sales associate there, but I'd like to sell the paper. This never happens, though.
Right.
But if they did that, of course, we'd say, well, we have a little bit of a question about what's going on there. But most people who come through our doors are experiencing some very difficult times. And they really want to take the initiative to change the course of where their life is headed.
So at this point, how many vendors do you have, and how long is the average person a vendor? How long do they keep doing that?
Sure. We've got about 300 that are active right now. In the course of a year, we'll have about 600 people that will walk through our doors. Of course, the nature of being homelessness sometimes lends itself to transients, and people will come in, and a few weeks later they will disappear. But we do have about 300 stay steady in terms of the number of vendors. And most people will stay with us 3 months or longer. So of the 600, we usually see people that stay tenured for much longer than 3 months. But it does take some work. And those people who do stay with us 3 months or longer, it's kind of a threshold for some reason that we monitor. But 50% of those folks get into permanent housing of some kind at some point if they stay with us.
Based on the income they make?
Based on the income they make.
From the contributor?
Right.
Well, that's great. And what kind of broad ranges, I guess, or maybe not so broad, what kind of ranges do they make? What could, if you're really good at this, what could you make? And
right.
You put in a little bit of time, what could you make here?
So we view our vendors as salespeople. We see them as micro business owners. We see the papers that they purchase from us. We see ourselves as a distributional force, and we lend it out, and they go out there, and they're the retail force. Our average right now among 300 is $8,000 a year. That's nothing to sneeze at. Now, it's much higher with our top sellers, and it's lower with those folks who stay with us for less than the 3-month threshold. So you see a wide variety of people making different levels of income, but we try to support them as they want to grow their business. So the people who are in our top 10 are salespeople right now can make upwards of $35,000 to $40,000 in a year. And that's based purely on how hard they work and how much they work to sell the paper at their corner.
And when you consider that minimum wage, I believe, is $7.50.
Right.
That is much better than a minimum wage. Many people who are doing this are making much more than minimum wage.
Right.
And in this, when you're trying to live in Nashville, that's critical.
Right.
You talk to people that are struggling, and I've talked to them, and they're making minimum wage, and that's after taxes and transport, $39 for
right.
a day of work.
Right. It doesn't seem like much to live on, and that's what is so interesting about this job. It is self-selected, in terms of a vendor force. They have to walk through our doors. We do some recruitment. We have some relationships with other homelessness services around town, but ultimately they have to walk through the door and say, I want to do this. So that's the first step. They go through the training, they get their free papers, and then they build from that moment on their business. And over time, we have seen people go from destitute, homeless, anywhere from addiction issues, mental health issues, physical issues, to people who are in homes who begin to find a way to manage whatever issues they have and really begin to see light in their lives for the first time because of the dignity that this job has given them. So it's a workforce that never is we don't look at homeless people and typically say, hey, they could do work. They could be people that we could value and give economic opportunity to. And once we do that and we see what we've done here at the Contributor, it's pretty remarkable to think about what we could be doing elsewhere and in other ways to help people earn a good, solid wage.
A couple of years ago, the Contributor was in financial trouble.
Right.
I believe it even printed its final edition. It was going to go away. That was before you came on. How financially is the Contributor doing? How is the community? are you selling enough?
Right.
And how is the contributor doing?
So when we had that final issue in 2013, the community came through and, of course, said we want to have the contributor in our community. We see the value of it. Of course, that led to many people. We're a 501c3, so we can receive contributions, and people donated a significant amount of money to get us back up and going. That led to figuring out what kind of staff we needed in order to do everything that we need to do as an organization to keep the doors open and to continue to serve our vendors and to print the paper. So we made some of those changes. We've added some people who are involved with community outreach and advertising, fundraising. We've bolstered our board in terms of the number of people we have on it, number one, but then also their expertise. And those were some of the things that we did immediately. I would say right now we are a turnaround story because we are trying to find that good balance of, sales of papers, fundraising, revenue that is generated from advertising, and trying to be a valuable resource to the community too in terms of news. It's a little bit of a tricky dance because people ask, do you serve the homeless first, or are you a newspaper first and then you serve the homeless second? We say we do both. We want it to be a good newspaper, but we also want it to be a good vehicle for our vendors to get up on their feet and do some good work.
So, all right, we're going to take a break. Then we're going to come back, start taking calls. If you want to call in any question you may have, there's the number, 615-737-PLUS, 615-737-7587. You can also talk about an ordinance that has been making its way, been talked about in the council. Take a break. We'll be back right after this.